All right, hi everyone. This is the lecture for February 22nd for the College Now, COMHE 330. So I'm going to recap what we covered last week, so the disease surveillance lecture. And then I'll go into the STD surveillance for today. So really quickly, just as a reminder, the city certificate and practica forms, again, need to be completed and brought to class on March 27th. So all of that is uploaded in the Lecture 3 course materials folder. And if I were you guys, I would definitely get started on that sooner than later. The city certificate especially requires some time to get through. All right, so last week we talked about surveillance. And what public health surveillance is and what it means. And again, as a reminder, surveillance is really the backbone of epidemiology, and it's pretty fundamental to public health. Without surveillance data, we're not able to monitor changes in the frequency of disease. We're not even able to know if there's an epidemic going on, if we don't have a simply case counts of the number of people with any given condition. And the definition for surveillance is the ongoing systematic collection, analysis, and interpretation of health data that is essential to the planning, implementation, and evaluation of public health practice. And the thing to keep in mind is that there's a lot of reportable and notifiable diseases. So healthcare providers are legally required to report on some conditions to the government. Usually these conditions will be infectious and or dangerous or contagious. So things like STDs, which we're going to focus on today. And here, why might we want to track certain diseases for disease control and for outbreak investigations? So for the rest of today, I'm going to go through CDC's STD surveillance data, and then I have a couple in-class assignments for you guys. So the highlights from the STD surveillance slides that we're going to look at is that there were more than 1.5 million chlamydia cases reported, and nearly 400,000 cases of gonorrhea reported, and nearly 24,000 cases of primary and secondary syphilis, which is the most infectious stages of the disease. So this was just in 2015 alone, and 2015 is the most recent STD surveillance data that we have available nationally. So the largest increase in cases reported from 2014 to 2015 occurred in primary and secondary syphilis. So there was a 19% increase in the number of cases reported, followed by gonorrhea. There was a 12.8% increase, and chlamydia, a 6% increase. And syphilis generally are the three most commonly reported conditions in the nation, and also have reached a record high. The other thing to keep in mind about chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis is that they're curable with antibiotics. So, so in theory, these are all preventable diseases, right, or curable. So in recent years, more than half of state and local STD programs have experienced budget cuts, resulting in more than 20 health department STD clinic closures in 1 year alone. So what that means is access to screening and treatment is reduced. And today we know that most STD cases continue to go undiagnosed and untreated, which puts individuals at risk for severe and often irreversible health consequences, including infertility, chronic pain, and increased risk for HIV infection. STDs also have a substantial economic burden on the nation. So the Centers for Disease Control estimates that STD cases cost the U.S. healthcare system nearly $16 billion each year. And then some data highlights. Americans aged 15 to 24 years old accounted for nearly 2/3 of chlamydia diagnoses and half of gonorrhea diagnoses. Men who have sex with men accounted for the majority of new gonorrhea and primary and secondary syphilis cases. Also, antibiotic-resistant gonorrhea is found to be higher among MSM. As well, women's rate of syphilis diagnosis increased by more than 27% from 2014 to 2015. And congenital syphilis, which occurs when the infection is transmitted from a pregnant woman to her baby, increased by 6%. So all of this means that STDs are generally increasing in the country, the rates of STD infections, against sort of a backdrop of curable of this being a curable infection, right? So ideally, we would hope that we would see the number of STD cases going down, given that we have treatments for these things. So now let me switch to, I'm going to switch over to the STD slide set. Give me just a minute. And let me make sure that you're seeing what I'm seeing. STD surveillance 2015. Okay, great. Right. Okay, sorry guys. I'm using this is a different format for me how I'm recording these than what I'm used to. So might have to bear with me as I figure this out. All right, so STD surveillance in 2015. Again, this is the most recently available data we have on STDs in the nation. And we're going to start with chlamydia. So this figure is showing you rates of reported cases of chlamydia by sex, so women and men. And you see that since 2001, there's been a general increase in the rates of reported chlamydia cases. And you can also see here that women are higher than men. And this is pretty common for STDs just because of biological susceptibility. Women are more susceptible to getting chlamydia and gonorrhea infections than men. This is the same thing. So we're looking at trends here. So from 2006 to 2015. And what you can see is that the southern United States has the highest rates of reported cases. This is a trend that's actually pretty consistent no matter what the disease is. The southern states are poorer. As a result, we see higher rates, higher disease burden in southern states. You can see the Northeast, which is where the New York data is actually much lower than the other regions. Than the other regions of reported cases. Okay, so now looking at a map again. So this is not showing you a trend. This is just showing us for 2015. What's the data look like? And we can see here that the highest rates are going to be this dark green color. The lowest rates are going to be this white color. So Minnesota, Iowa, having some of the lowest rates of reported cases of chlamydia. The southern states, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, having higher rates of reported cases of chlamydia. And again, this is not too surprising because we just looked at this map, right, and saw that the South was much lower than other places. And also that the Northeast is much lower, and you can kind of see that here. Maine, Vermont, New York's in the middle, so green, so in I guess the third highest, but the rest of the Northeast is pretty low. New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, all of these are the lightest color we have. We'll skip the county one. And here you see chlamydia rates by age group and sex. So on the left side, we have men. On the right side, we have women. And then going down, we have increasing ages. And what you can see here is that the burden of disease, one, seems to be higher among women than men, which we already knew from the first slide, looking at trends. And two, that the burden of disease is much higher among younger adults, so those 15 to 24-year-olds, and even the 25 to 29-year-olds, right? So women, we're looking at 2,994 cases per 100,000 population among 15 to 19-year-olds, and 3,730 cases per 100,000 population among the 20 to 24-year-olds. And if we look at the men, we also see 767 cases per 100,000 population among 15 to 19-year-old males, and 1,500, around 1,500, so 1,467 cases per 100,000 population among men aged 20 to 24 years old. This graph is showing us trends by race ethnicity. And we see up here that Blacks have the highest rate of chlamydia cases reported by from 2011 to 2015. In the middle, this sort of teal line is American Indians, Alaskan Natives. Oops, sorry about that. I think I just backed out of the slide set for you. Let me go back to it. And again, give me a minute to make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. Yes. Right. So Blacks having the highest rates, American Indians, Alaskan Natives having the second highest rates, Native Hawaiians, third highest, Hispanics, the dotted green line, fourth highest, and then whites, followed by multi-race and Asians. This one I'm going to skip. This is cases reported by reporting source. This is the same thing, but among women. I'm also going to skip the STD clinic data and get to the gonorrhea section. So here we see rates of gonorrhea reported cases by year. And this data is pretty, is a little more interesting, right? You can see sort of two peaks. And then generally from about 2006, from 6 on, it looks sort of flat, but maybe if we look at 2011 to recently, you can see the number of gonorrhea cases looks like it's probably increasing in recent years. And in fact, here you can see that same sort of thing, right? So around 2011, 2012, 13, 14, 15, it looks like the number of cases is slowly increasing. And here we see that men actually have, that the trend has reversed, which is pretty interesting. So men are having higher rates of reported cases than women. So women were higher up until 2012. It looks like in 2012 they were equal, and since 2012 men have had higher rates of gonorrhea than women. Here's gonorrhea rates since 2006 reported by region. Again, you see that the South is the highest, Northeast is the lowest, and the West and Midwest are kind of actually pretty equal in recent years, although generally it looks like the Midwest was higher, so the Midwest is the green line, than the West, which is the orange line. Looking at a map of gonorrhea rates, again, you see that the South, right, the greatest burden of disease is in the South, so the darkest, is it yellow, brown, the dark brown, dark yellow-brown. The darkest color is the states with the highest rates. So you see Georgia here has 138 cases per 100,000 population. The Northeast, it looks like, has much lower rates. So 31 cases per 100,000 population in Maine. Right, and then New York is in the second highest bracket this time, or maybe that's the third highest. Yeah, I guess that's the third highest. So this yellow color, second highest, this more yellow-brown, third highest, the brown, fourth highest. New York has 129 cases per 100,000 population. By county, we're going to skip that. We're going to look at this one again. So same figure. We looked at this with chlamydia. Now we're looking at gonorrhea rates. So on the left we have men, on the right we have women. Going down we see the age group. And what this shows you, again, is that the highest burden of disease is among the 15 to 24-year-olds, 15 to 29-year-olds maybe here. Or 20 to 29-year-olds, I guess. So men, the two highest groups are 20 to 24-year-olds, 539 cases per 100,000 population. 25 to 29-year-old males have 448 cases per 100,000 population. For women, it looks like the two highest age groups are the 15 to 19-year-olds, for 442 cases per 100,000 population for women. And the 20 to 24-year-olds is the highest for women, 546 cases per 100,000 population. I'm going to skip the age breakdowns, and try to show you the race ethnicity breakdowns. Okay, so again, you see that the highest rates of reported cases by race ethnicity is among Blacks. Second highest is among American Indian, Alaska Natives, so that's similar to what we saw before. Third highest, this yellow dotted line, is the Native Hawaiian other Pacific Islander population. So this one, green dotted line is Hispanics, so that's the fourth highest. And then it looks like whites, multi-race, and Asians are the three bottom lines. So the purple, the pink, and whites are whites are pink, Asians are purple, multi-race is brown. And here I'm skipping through these STD clinic cases. And what I want to get to is I'm going to skip syphilis and go to the adolescent slide set. Syphilis. Give me a minute, you guys. STDs in women and infants, we're skipping that. STDs in adolescents and adults. Okay. So let me make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. It looks like you are. And I'll go back to my slide set. So here we see chlamydia rates of reported cases among women aged 15 to 24-year-olds by state. And this looks kind of similar to me as what we saw for all ages. So before, when I showed you this map for chlamydia, it was all ages. Now I'm showing it to you and it's women aged 15 to 24. But again, you still see that the highest burden is in southern states, right? And it looks like there's less burden in northeastern states. New York is still coming in the third highest bracket, the middle green color, so not light green, not the darkest green, but the middle green. And this map is showing you rates of reported cases of chlamydia among men aged 15 to 24. It looks a little different than the women, but again, generally, we see that the burden is highest in southern states. And the Northeast looks like there's less disease burden. For chlamydia, gonorrhea, this is women aged 15 to 24 years by state. And again, we see here that the South has higher disease burden. Interestingly, now we're seeing some states in the Midwest, so Illinois, Ohio, Missouri, right here, 665, 622 in Illinois, 706 in Ohio. So some of these states in the Midwest now have the highest rates of gonorrhea when we cut the data and look at women who are aged 15 to 24. New York's still coming in the third highest bracket. So the middle yellow color, not the lightest yellow, but the middle yellow. All right, looking at men, yeah, it's similar, right? So the highest disease burden, again, is in the southern United States, although there are some Midwestern states here that are kind of lighting up, that are in the highest disease burden quartile. So more than 463 cases per 100,000 population. Illinois has 494. Missouri, 536 cases. New York, again, is still in the third highest group, so the middle yellow color. I'm going to skip this. This is looking at job training programs. Right. And that's I guess the end of it. So over to our lecture slides for today. Hope I think you're seeing a picture. Part 2. Okay, so so that's it in terms of the lecture today. Really what I want you guys to focus on today is talking about the HAN article. So I have uploaded a document to Blackboard. It's called Class Exercise HAN article. And what I would like is to have the discussion leaders, Alex, Denobi, Tyreek, go through that document as a class and answer all the questions. And then discussion leaders, so you should email me if any questions come up from the group about the lecture or about the HAN paper. If there's something you don't understand, and if as a class you can't figure it out, then feel free to email me. And if you finish the discussion of the HAN article, then I would like you guys to start to get into your health condition groups. And I've uploaded a document that has the health condition groups. This doesn't have to be the final groups for the semester, but this is what I have right now based on the survey you filled out. So what I would like you to do is if you finish the discussion, get into your health condition groups. If you finish the discussion of the HAN article, you're going to get into your health condition groups, and then the groups are going to start to brainstorm risk factors for your health condition. So for example, let's say the health condition I'm looking at is suicide ideation. You know, then I might identify as risk factors, say playing video games. For some reason, I think that playing video games increases the risk of suicide ideation. So that's what I would like the groups to do, is to come up with at least 3 risk factors or potential risk factors for whatever the health condition is that you're studying this semester. And let me open up the health condition group documents and show you guys. And this groups document is in the research folder on Blackboard. So I'm switching over my screen to my all right, so we have an asthma group, a depression group, HIV, the HIV team is composed of 4 people who did not pick HIV as their first choice, but did pick it as their second choice. There's one group for suicide ideation, a group for nutrition. Victor, I put you in the nutrition group because you selected physical activity. And I think these topics are related. There's a dating violence group and an alcohol use group. And again, I think actually Hannah's out this week. So if there's only one person in your group, then feel free to join one of the other smaller groups and help them brainstorm. And then when I'm back on Monday, you guys will get back in these groups. And if people aren't excited about their topic, I'll let you move. And we'll start to talk about the things that you've brainstormed. Okay, so that's actually it. I'm going to stop this recording. And again, please email me if there's any questions that come up, and I will see you guys all on Monday. Bye.